So this is, I guess, kind of like a continuation of the life video. So first, I want to humbly thank all of my, I want to thank all of my viewers as well as just the people, like seeing new people flock to that video. Like it's one of my, it's one of my like most recent like viewed videos on my channel, and I'm honestly really grateful and thankful for it. So if you haven't checked that one out, please check that out. But this is a continuation of that. So this is a video just to kind of talk about death and at least my interpretation of it, at least. So if you like this video, you know, just feel free to comment. I do read the comments, and I always try to like respond to them to the best of my ability, because it's interesting to see everyone's perspective on like a generalized topic such as life or on death. So if if you want to leave a comment about what you thought about the video, or just like how things are in your life, or how you interpret like death and all that, definitely definitely leave a comment, please. Like I do read them, and I'm curious to see what you all think. But without further ado, I guess we can jump into this video here. So death to me was definitely it's one of those things that I didn't really have a full grasp of understanding until I was negatively impacted by it, you know. Like when I was a kid, I would always see on the news and media that you know, somebody had, you know, died in a house fire, or somebody who was killed in a shootout. You know what I mean? Like you would always see you'd always see things like that on the news, but I never would really process that kind of like media. But half of the reason was because I was a kid. The other half of the reason was because you just kind of saw it a lot, you know. That all kind of changed a couple years back when I was in trade school at the time, and I was getting ready to kind of head out and drive up to trade school and do my classes for the day. And I had overheard on the news that somebody that I knew from high school had died. And I did a double take, and I was like, wait a minute, what happened? And so, and that to me was a very it was a very impactful thing for me, because that was a kid that I went to school with for like 4 to 5 years. You know, I saw that kid every day. Every day of school, I saw him, and he's in my graduation photo. And just to hear his name pop up, it kind of like it made me, it kind of brought me back down to it brought me down from where I was at, because you know, again, like when you hear all those horrible things happening to like families and people, you don't like, again, like I'm not trying to be mean, but like you don't really process it, you know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, that's horrible, you know, and all that. But this was the first scenario or instance in my life where someone, unfortunately passing, has negatively impacted me, you know. Like I it was something I thought about for like the whole day, because like it was such a bizarre thing, because I've never experienced something like that before, you know. And it was weird, because I was talking about it with my sister, and she's someone that doesn't handle death very she doesn't handle it very, very well, you know. Like she gets very paranoid, very I don't want to say dramatic, but she's very emotional, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to say she has trauma, but she has like she doesn't process death very well, I think is the best way I'll say that. And I was talking about it with her, and she was like visibly upset, and I had to take a few steps back. Yeah, I obviously did apologize to her, and we hugged it out and all that. But I was sitting in my room later that night, and I was like thinking about it, and I'm like this is a horrible thing to have happened, and that could potentially happen to me one day. You know, I could just be minding my own business and then poof, you know, I'm gone. Which is a very scary thing to think about because, you know, death is, it's the end, you know, it is the end of you. It is the end of your being. And a lot of people can't really, they can't seem to process or understand that we're not necessarily here forever, you know? And I had to sit on that feeling for weeks, you know, that, like, I'm not gonna be here forever. I don't think any of us are gonna be here forever. But, I had this realization a couple weeks later. I was just kind of sitting in my room, and I was feeling the weight of that, you know, of that specific, of that, is that we aren't going to be here forever, and there's nothing we can do to stop death. We can prolong it, it's like, no matter how good we eat, how many vaccinations we get, no matter how often we try to stay inside to, like, you know, not prevent the UV rays from, like, hurting or affecting us, you know, no matter how good we take care of ourselves, we're still all gonna die one day. And I was just sitting there and I was like, this sucks, you know, like, I don't like this feeling. I don't like the fact that I'm not gonna be here one day. And that's when I had the realization that, like, everyone at some point is gonna have to experience that, number one. Number two, accepting that death is just a natural part of life. It's just part of the experience that comes with life. In a way, kind of made me a little bit more human, you know? Like, it was accepting the fact that that point of your life, like, you dying, is nothing anyone can do anything about. And in a way, it just kind of made me a little bit more humble, you know? It made me appreciate life. It made me appreciate, the fact that I'm still here, and that when the time is right, when the time does come, I don't know if it'll happen tomorrow. I don't know if it'll happen next week, next year. I could live till I'm 80 years old and nothing would happen, you know? Which brings up the whole other point of, like, well, there's people that are born into this world that don't get to live a life like that, you know? They're born with some incurable disease. They're, you know, a terrible accident may happen. They're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know? And it's just one of those things where it's like, it's a very frustrating thing, you know? Because you look at it, you look at scenarios, you look at instances like that, and you genuinely can't do anything about it. You can't stop it, you know? No matter how hard you try to fight it, you know, you can't stop it from happening. And I think that's what really bothers people, you know, because it happens to people that deserve it, and then it happens to people that don't deserve it, you know? And it's a frustrating thing, because I know so many people that they want to try and control and manage the things in their life, you know, whether that be their finances, their house, their car, their relationships, etc. But no matter how hard they try to control things in their life, that is just one of the things that is unpredictable. It's one of the things that you just can't control. And I think it drives some people crazy. It drove me crazy for a long time, because it's like, what's to stop me from, you know, just walking down the street and somebody, you know, somebody driving a car haphazardly crashes into me, you know? And then that's it. That's me gone, you know? I I look at things like that, and it's just like it's scary, you know, because I don't want my life to be lived. I don't want my life to end like that, you know. But in the end of it, there's really not much I can do to stop something like that from happening. I mean, again, you can live a safe life no matter how hard you try, but accidents are always prone to happen. But you shouldn't live life in fear of death, because death is just a natural process of life. Even if death is accidental, intentional, if death was performed with malicious intent, don't get me wrong, death is absolutely a very it's a very heavy topic to talk about, and it's definitely one that a lot of people are scared to talk about, because they don't want to seem like they're unappreciative of life. But if you ask me, I think that death breeds purpose into life. You know, it's what makes us try to live a life worth living. You know, a life that's worthy of being around. Like, you know, I sat there, I was laying on the floor, and I was looking up at the ceiling, and I was like this right here is my life. If I were to go right now, that would be a waste. It would be a waste of all of the knowledge and information that I've learned, all of the experiences that I've had, all of the people that I've met, all of the things that I've done. It would essentially be a waste. You know, I became a lot more appreciative after that experience, you know, with my friend from when I was in trade school, and I learned that one of my friends from high school had unfortunately passed away. It made me a lot more appreciative of life and kind of the world that we're in. You know, it's true. It absolutely is true. The world is not fair, but I don't think it was ever intended to be fair. You know, I think it's just important that moving forward, people are appreciative of the things that go on in their life, you know? I'm happy with who I am and the experiences that I've lived, and if I am taken from this world tomorrow, I'm okay with that, because it'll be my time. You know, I'll be ready to go. Death is a very heavy thing to process in our life, and it's one that a lot of people struggle to even grasp, you know. But I think that when they do kind of accept that death is an inevitable occurrence, it kind of takes a weight off your shoulders, you know. Like, that's how I felt. It felt like that a heavy weight was just kind of taken off my shoulders, you know. I'm happier now that I kind of accepted that there's nothing I can really do about that. That it's just kind of a process, you know. It's just kind of the cycle of life. I'm in that cycle. We're all in that cycle, you know, and that cycle is changing. It is different in every shape, way, and form. It changes all the time, and we are a part of that change. And I think that that's part of the human experience. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm not really an expert. That's just been my experience with death, you know. I'm fortunate that I haven't had anything too traumatic happen in my life, but I'm also thankful that I was able to meet people who could, you know, help guide me through this, to provide different perspectives on things, you know. It's been a blessing to be here.